And it was my first convention. I knew nothing about this world. And as I left, I'm standing out in the parking lot all by myself, waiting for a ride. And a fan came up to me and he said, "Wouldn't it be cool if you died in real life the way you died in your movie?" No, but have a nice day. And that, I almost didn't do another convention after that.
First we have Melanie Kinnaman and Ron Sloan, who knows that two heads are better than one. Definitely getting ahead at this convention. They get worse, trust me.
Somebody's smart around here.
Now I'm going to be looking at my phone. I am not texting. I am not checking Instagram. I have my questions on here, so don't be afraid. But I don't want to ask all the questions. So if you have questions, you can raise your hand. I'm going to start with the starter one.
Keep them clean.
Yeah, please.
A little dirty's okay. I'm going to ask a starter question, then I think we have a question back here, and then we'll just go from there. So, guys, what inspired you? What was the moment you said, I want to be an actor or actress, if you prefer?
You know, it started very young. I was 4 or 5 years old, and I started dancing, and I just had a natural talent for it. So I danced from the time I was 4 all the way through till now. I'm still dancing. But that got me into other things, and I wanted to be an actress, so I used the dancing for that. And I went to New York City and danced in shows, and then I got taken out of the chorus and put into roles, and that's really how it started. But that was my impetus to be a performer first. My idol is Dick Van Dyke. Don't laugh. I think he's the greatest because he does everything. And I grew up looking at him, you know, so he's a dancer, he's a singer, he's everything, so. And he's still alive at 100, so he's my idol.
That's awesome.
And you're going to dance later for us, perhaps?
Maybe later.
All right, sounds good. Ron?
Okay, I was lazy. It fulfilled an English requirement. So it was easier for me to get up and talk than it was to write something down. So I was like, oh, well, I'll do acting. And who knew that it would take off from there? So I did it in college. And when I left college, then I went to like really professional acting schools. Anywhere from method acting with the infamous Grant Williams, who was the incredible shrinking man. It was the Stanislavski method for 3 years. Turned you inside out. Oh my God. Harvey Lembeck, who was a comedian. I like the thumbs up. With Big Al Molinaro from Happy Days, I did comedy improv for 3 years. And then Will Geer, Grandpa Walton, thumb up again, in his Shakespearean Repertory Company in Topanga Canyon, which still is going today, with Ellen Geer, his daughter. So that's how it came about.
That is a great story. And you have a great role model in Dick Van Dyke.
I still love him. He's the only one of my idols I haven't met, and I'm still hopeful because we don't live far apart, so.
Just don't stalk him, you know, police will be called. So I thought we had a question back here. Let me come around. I'm going to be like Donahue. Do you know who Donahue is?
That's a blast from the past. That's great.
All right.
Wow. Okay. I also have my questions on my phone.
I have more.
Ron, for the motorcycle scenes, were they like a nightmare, or were they fun, or were they just like, did you just not do them?
Well, the one of me screaming, riding through the forest, the nightmare was the director, Danny Steinman, bolted a camera to the handlebars of the motorcycle, which really does change the dynamics of a motorcycle, how you're supposed to drive. And he said to me, "If you drop this bike, I'll kill you for real." That's his quote. So what was interesting, that was a little difficult plus in the decapitation, I was in a harness. So they did what's called a film reversal. So I had to go from a screaming, ah, to a normal look on my face, and then they reversed the film. But at one point, they triggered the harness, and that jerked me backwards off the bike, which was never used for the film anyway. Good for a whiplash. But all those scenes, except for the scene of me riding the motorcycle up on the porch, that was Gene Hargrove, and he has since passed away. He was awesome, man. I believed it was me seeing him do it. So, it was pretty good.
Great. Any other questions? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Or I will ask a question. That's perfectly fine. And I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but what was the audition process like for this film?
For me, it was, I didn't know what Friday the 13th was. I don't like horror movies. So I didn't know about the franchise. I had never seen any of them. So when I went in, they told me, and it didn't really have any impact, until they brought me back for a second meeting. And I thought it was just a meeting and maybe reading a scene again. And when I walked in the room, it was a big, long table, and it was the head of Paramount and the producers and Danny Steinman and one casting person. So when I walked in, the Frank Mancuso, who was the producer, said, "I'd like you to do an improv of being murdered." So I said, "Oh, okay, can I have a minute?" So I left the room, I came back in, and I kind of kicked the door open. I did the scene, I kept going. I remember I ended up on the floor from the screaming and hysteria, and I remember lying on the floor, and I stopped and I looked up, and all their faces were like. So I thought I either was really bad or I nailed this. So I finished, I left, they called me before I even got home that I'd gotten the role. That's the fastest I'd ever gotten roles. Usually there's tons of callbacks, 4 or 5. For Best of the Best, I had 15 callbacks. So it was fun, great to get it in one, But I didn't know anything about it, so when I got the role, I asked them to please let me see part 4. So they had a screening for me of part 4, and I got to see what I was getting into.
And then did you want to run?
Yes.
Ron?
Well, for me, it was a little different. I used to do a showcase. And a showcase is where you do a 5-minute scene. And I did it once a week at the Fountain Theater. You pay $12, and it'd be for producers, directors, casting. You never know who's going to be there. And I did it religiously for 2 years. And with really not much to... some good stuff, but nothing really big. And one night I was there doing it, and Fern Champion and Pamela Basker were there from Friday the 13th, except it wasn't called Friday the 13th, it was called Repetition. And so they asked me after doing my scene if I could play a hillbilly. And I thought about a friend of my brother's who was really goofy, kind of an idiot. And I thought, well, I'll portray that guy. And had everybody laughing. And so at the end of the evening, they came up to me and said, "We'd like to see you at our office tomorrow to pick up sides for a movie called Repetition." I was all excited. So I go, I pick up the sides. I get called in like 2 days later, and I get to read for Danny Steinman. And I just let it all go. What do you got to lose? And Danny came up to me afterwards and he goes, "Hey, man, it's really going to be a great working with you, kid." And I was like, "Okay, reel it in. You don't have the part yet, reel it in." And so, you can't help but be excited. And so when I started to leave, they said, "Oh, by the way, you have a callback tomorrow for the producers." And I'm like, oh, God, another sleepless night. And then so I came in, and as I walk in, Danny walks up and tells Frank Mancuso Jr., "Hey, this is the kid I told you about. I'm going to love working with him." And I'm thinking, okay, it's not yours yet. Don't fall into that trap. And I did it, and sure enough, I got a call a couple days later that I got the part. So that's how it came about, and it was so exciting.
That's great. Not quite as fast as Melanie. Melanie, did you have something to add?
Oh, by the way, the empty seats there, it's Dick Wiend and Bob DeSimone, who are devastated that they're not here. They both called me very upset. Their flights were canceled. Apparently there's terrible weather in the Midwest, tornadoes and everything, but they were going to be here with us. And they were so looking forward to it, so they wanted me to tell the fans that this was something out of their control. They're really upset.
We miss them too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. Anyone else have a question? I know you have a list. We'll just go back and forth. Come on.
I was saving this one because I thought everyone would be here, but this one's for everyone. So how did you get into character? You know, like, how did you really channel that, because Friday the 13th Part 5 has a lot of, energy and character to it, and yeah.
Well, in my case, I don't know about the others, but in my case, there wasn't a lot on the page for Pam Roberts. Initially, when I auditioned, there was, but when I was doing the movie, a lot of stuff was cut to get to know Pam because they just want the kills. So I try to create somebody in a very quick way that the audience could relate to, that you would have some kind of empathy for, because I believe that if you don't connect to at least one of the characters in the film, you don't really care if they live or die. So it makes it more exciting for the audience if you like or connect with a character, because then you care what happens. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to make her what you ended up seeing on film.
Well, how do you channel an idiot? Oh, that was easy. It was typecasting. I think it was more of, there's the scene where I'm crying and screaming and, yelling, "They hurt me, Ma!" And now this will sound crazy, but in method acting, you have to kind of go back into your life on different things to trigger emotions. And you'll think I'm nuts, but the gas tank on the little Yamaha Enduro 250 that I was riding was primer gray, which was the exact same color of my grandfather's casket. So it was easy in a sense for me to kind of look at that and take my memory back to him and how much he meant in my life. So I could repeat that over and over again, and I won't go any further because I'll start crying now.
Well, that is awesome to get a glimpse into the process. Now, I take it you've both died, not just in this movie, but in other movies, am I correct?
I've never died.
You've never died, only in the audition.
Only in the audition. In the movie, I'm the final girl, the last one standing, so I didn't die. They signed me for 2 movies. I was doing Part 5 and 6. And so in 6, we don't know if I ever lived because the script was written. I read half the script. We were ready to shoot in a month, and John Shepard bailed out. He decided he didn't want to do any more horror movies, that he was a Christian, and blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, so what? Get someone else. I'm ready to go. Get another Tommy. And they said, we can't do that because you're so recognizable, the two of you. So they scrapped all of Part 6. But as far as I know, I also lived in Part 6 halfway through. He was going to become the new killer. So I'm sure at some point he would have killed me.
Well, you dodged a bullet.
I dodged a bullet, yeah.
Ron, what was your favorite death?
Well, I can't help but love the death in Part 5. Decapitation, and plus I have the head from the movie. Come on. It's funny because it's almost in my contract now. I was offered a part last year, and I was disappointed that I didn't die. So there was another part in the film, and I said, well, I like this other character because he's actually killed by Tiffany Brookmeyer, who was Tiffany Helm, who played Violet. So she actually kills me in a film. So I chose that role instead because it just seemed right. There's only one film that I haven't died in as far as horror films, and it's on YouTube. It's called Dylan's New Nightmare. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's with Miko Hughes, and he's here today. He stars in the film, and if you haven't seen it, It's awesome. You got to take a peek. It's free on YouTube, and I'm in the first 5 minutes. And the blood and brain matter is not mine. And that's all I'm going to say.
That's great. Any other questions? I don't want to hog the mic, but I will if I must. So, Melanie, you said you don't like horror film. What do you guys watch in your spare time? What do you, when you're unwinding, do you watch?
I'm addicted to Dateline. I love Dateline, every Dateline, 48 Hours, all that stuff. But Netflix, am I right? Netflix has so much stuff that you get hooked in and you stream, you binge watch. So I like a lot of suspense. The horror, the stabbing, the gross goriness, I don't like. The Exorcist to me is my favorite scary movie of all time. That's the kind of stuff I like. The Hitchcock stuff, not blatant blood and guts. So obviously I'm not a Terrifier fan.
I like sci-fi a lot. I was at the screening of the first Aliens, and it was at the Directors Guild. And, first of all, there, you can't even have a bag of popcorn to drink or anything. It's quiet. You're not hearing munching, slurping. That movie was so scary. That's the scariest film. Really, that was great. I love that. I love sci-fi. And my wife and I, we watch Netflix a lot. And, of course, we like watching some of the talent shows like American Idol and America's Got Talent. It's awesome seeing young talent just blossoming. That's pretty cool.
Great. Again, we have another question over here. Big surprise. Refer to your phone. Go ahead.
No, this is one I made up on the spot. Sorry. Picking at your phone. If you could be in any other famous horror movie besides Friday the 13th Part 5, which one would you choose?
Wow.
The Birds. I would have liked to have done the Tippi Hedren role in Birds. I was named after her, she plays a Melanie character. I think that's great stuff. Birds, Psycho, I think those are great lead female characters in a horror film.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Hitchcock, he was the man. Come on. Because there was such, there's meat to those roles, In present day, I don't know. We'll see. I have one in the wind right now. We'll see where it goes, where I'm actually tortured with molten metal. This will be an interesting one, being shot in an abandoned steel mill in Pittsburgh. But more on that once everything comes into order.
Yeah, we don't want spoilers.
No spoiler alert.
No NDA violations. So, not just in this movie, but in your career, can you think of one scene that was particularly difficult to get through? Just whether it was emotional or whether it was just technical?
I had a difficult, and it's not out yet. It's a film I did almost 2 years ago in Bucharest with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman. And I was playing a Southern racist, that was difficult, especially with Morgan Freeman looking at me. It was tough. He was directing. To play something so opposite of yourself is great, it's exciting, it's rewarding, but it's very difficult because you have to really dig, and if you can't relate to it, you have to find a reason and something that you relate to in that character to be able to play it truthfully. So to be able to find racism that extreme, that was difficult.
I can imagine.
The film is The Great House, and it's coming out this year, hopefully.
Yay.
Awesome. So keep an eye out for that.
For me, if you guys think of the fight scene I had with John Shepard in part 5, well, Dick Warlock was the stunt coordinator on that. And he was training John and I to fight. Well, Dick actually, in our training, connected and knocked me down on the ground. Of course, he apologized, and now John actually did the same thing. And
He enjoyed it. He told me.
He did. I saw that interview. He did enjoy it. That wasn't planned, and I actually saw stars. So both. And the funniest thing was, I was at a convention and Dick was there, and I went up to him just goofing around, and I said, "You know, Dick, oh man, you knocked me out." And he was all, "I would never have done so, Dick." And so he ended up grabbing my head and he put a fist to it. "I'm going to beat," oh, I already did it once. Okay, never mind. It was a cool memory, but yeah, that was a little difficult seeing stars twice in one night without hazard pay.
Yeah, I can imagine. How about the funniest scene? Something that was maybe difficult to get through because it was so funny. I mean, horror it needs a little bit of comedy here and there, but other films have bits of comedy, especially comedies. A hilarious scene that you recall.
It wasn't supposed to be funny, but for me, the chainsaw scene, we shot it on Halloween night. It was many, many hours. Dick Warlock trained me to do my own stunt fighting Tom Morga, who's a real stunt guy. So it was very overwhelming that I'm not a stunt person, and I'm doing a stunt with two great stunt people. So there was a lot of training on that, and I felt confident. So I'm in the closet, and I have to kick the door open and come out with the chainsaw, and for some reason that just made me laugh. I just thought it was so hysterical, that just the look of me, and the thing was on, it was a real chainsaw. It just struck me as very funny, so unfortunately we had to do it a couple of times till I pulled it together. But it wasn't supposed to be funny, and I don't think it came off funny on screen.
I was fortunate. Carol Locatell, Ethel Hubbard, every scene was funny with her. And just getting caught up in the moment. We had such chemistry together in real life and in the film, and we fed each other. And actually, we just kept on going and going to a point where even in a convention situation, we could kind of ad-lib lines together. I know there's things out there that we did, and it was just a beautiful relationship, romance of just family. And we're a horror family. Who would have thought that 40 years ago, sorry, my voice is going, that 40 years ago, we'd still be connected with just this genuine friendship. And Mel and I are very blessed, and the rest of the Part 5 family that we actually get to see every now and then. So, and you guys, you're awesome. I mean, to actually, we feel the love, the hug. It's so good. It's delicious, you know, and I thank you.
Well, thank you. We only have a few minutes left. Anyone else have a question? I want to give other people a chance. Anyone going once, going twice? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, it's the same two people the whole time. What's your favorite or least favorite fan interaction you've had over the 40 years?
Oh, boy.
I had a stalker. That wasn't good. Police had to get involved. That was the least favorite. My most favorite was a boy, a teenager, told me how important Pam Roberts was in his life, which startled, kind of shocked me. And he explained why. And he said he saw the film. He was going through a very hard time in school. He was being bullied because he was gay. And somehow he connected, or I connected with him, the character, and he felt strength by watching Part 5. And it helped him through his high school years. That was such a great thing to hear, because I never would have thought that that role, that movie would help. And more people tell me the same story, that character gave them a strength. So that's very rewarding.
Well, the most scary was actually the very first convention I ever did, and it was in Texas. I think you were there. I think. I don't know. It was a gazillion years ago. In Arlington.
No, I wasn't there.
And it was my first convention. I knew nothing about this world. And as I left, I'm standing out in the parking lot all by myself, waiting for a ride. And a fan came up to me and he said, "Wouldn't it be cool if you died in real life the way you died in your movie?" No, but have a nice day. And that, I almost didn't do another convention after that. Now, the funniest thing or most rewarding kinda was that same convention. This guy came up and he was in with a junior flight cap. He had a junior sweatshirt on, all dirty and holes, and he was a big old boy, 6'8", and he was all, "I gotta get a picture with you." And I was like, "I gotta get a picture with you." And I thought, wow, my character actually kind of hit a mark with somebody. That's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And I felt, wow, I never thought in a million years. And that was all in one convention, my very first convention.
So that's what convinced you to come back to conventions, was that interaction as opposed to...
I think it was my agent said, "Try another one." He was like, don't let this one affect you.
Awesome. So before we go, anything else that you'd like to talk about, promote that's coming up, or future conventions?
Oh, we've got a bunch of future conventions all over the map, which is good. I have a film I'm going to be shooting in January 2026 with Bradley Cooper. I had to sign an NDA, but I'll be opening my mouth real quick once we start shooting to tell everybody. It's not a horror film, but I play a very bad person. So I'll be broadcasting that everywhere to all the people who care. And conventions, we have a big one. I don't know if you guys could make it out to California, but there's a big 45 years of Friday the 13th. Crystal Lake Memories is happening in Burbank. All the people who are in the movie or did music or the directors should all be there. What else are we doing? Motor City Nightmares.
Yeah, Motor City Nightmares. Tidewater, Virginia.
Yeah, we're in Virginia Beach in September. This is all kind of far away for you guys. So hopefully we'll be doing a Monster Mania in Cherry Hill. That's close.
We are here now, so come see us.
But I want to thank everybody, because it really becomes clear to me when I do these shows how loyal the fans are and how much you appreciate and how kind you've been to us all these years. And it was very unexpected. I had no idea, certainly when I was shooting it, and even in the last 20 years, that anyone really would even care all these years later. So I thank you for that. I thank you for showing up and caring.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Let's get a great big round of applause. Melanie Kinnaman, Ron Sloan, thank you guys so much. Visit them at their tables.
Yeah.
Hey there, this is Nolan North, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Good for you. Very proud of you. Now go watch more. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom. I like that.